15 years old, a motorcycle that refuses to start. A 1991 Yamaha XT250, single-cylinder, sitting in a neighbour's shed for 4 years, traded to your father for less than €100 and a bottle of wine because you wouldn't stop talking about bikes. It wasn't leaking anything. That should have worried you. There was nothing left in it to leak. You had no idea what you were doing. You knew that. You printed a service manual in pieces because a full print job cost more than you had. The pages fell out of order by the third afternoon. A shoebox and a fistful of paper clips became your filing system. The carburetor came apart in 3 pieces that were never meant to separate. You'd stripped a screw getting it off. You cleaned the jets with your father's bicycle pump, which does almost nothing for a clogged carburetor. You learned that the hard way, twice. The third rebuild ran badly, a rising, dying, rising idle that refused to settle. 40 minutes and 6 small turns of a mixture screw later, it held steady. You sat back on your heels and listened to one cylinder firing in a driveway and felt something you would spend the next 2 decades chasing in every form it came in. You rode that bike in a field behind the house for 2 months. No license, no road. 3 falls, 1 bruise that covered half your hip and taught you more about speed and loose dirt than any book ever could. 17. You talked your way into a real workshop. 3 bays, a converted garage, run by a man named Marco, who'd spent 23 years elbow-deep in engines and agreed to take you on for nothing because your persistence either impressed him or wore him down. He never said which. Marco didn't explain twice. He showed you something once. Miss it, and it was gone. For 2 months, that nearly broke you. Then it became the best teacher you ever had, because the only way to survive was to stop missing anything. You learned to read a bike the way some people read faces. A weeping fork seal in a ring pattern tells its own story. A chain worn unevenly points somewhere specific, a sprocket, not tension. A tire wearing on one edge means the shock linkage is lying to you. Every machine talks. You were finally learning the language. The shop never specialized. Road bikes, dirt bikes, scooters, the occasional inherited relic someone couldn't ride and couldn't part with. Marco believed a mechanic who only knew one machine was useful, but incomplete. You just wanted to torque an exhaust nut without stripping the header. You also learned the unwritten rules. Tools go back exactly where they came from every single time. That rule stopped being a preference the afternoon a bike came off its stand because someone put a wheel brace back in the wrong spot. After that, you asked why every rule existed. Marco almost always had an answer. 21. Certified now. 2 years of night classes running beside the workshop floor. The paper didn't make you better at the job. It confirmed what your hands already knew. That confirmation opened doors the skill alone hadn't. Marco gave you your own bay. Your toolbox, dented on one corner since the week you dropped a flywheel puller on it, finally had a permanent home. You never fixed that dent. It belonged there. You found your first real specialty, suspension. Fork rebuilds, shock servicing, work that rewarded patience with precision. Old fork oil doesn't look like oil anymore after 30,000 kilometers. It looks like something that was asked to do a job far longer than it should have. Fresh oil goes in thin and clear, and the difference in how the forks move is impossible to miss. Customers called it a new bike. It wasn't. It was the same bike, finally allowed to work the way it was built. You also learned to have the harder conversation, the gap between what a machine actually needs and what its owner hoped it would cost. You learned to say it plainly, without flinching, because doing the job halfway just to hit a number wasn't a job you'd sign your name to. 24. You could hear things in an engine that a stethoscope couldn't find.
Not sharper ears, a brain that had heard the same sound enough times in enough situations that a diagnosis arrived before you'd consciously ask the question. That's what experience actually is. Not more knowledge, faster processing. You became the one who got handed the strange cases, the intermittent faults, the bike's two other mechanics had already declared fixed that came back worse a week later. A Ducati rolled in with a fuel problem two other shops had chased and misdiagnosed. Both had treated the symptom, not the cause. 3 hours later, you found a hairline crack in a vacuum line, hidden behind a part neither shop had thought to remove. The owner asked how you found it. You told him you looked somewhere no one else had bothered to check. You started working on race bikes too. Tighter tolerances, higher stakes. Get it wrong on a track bike and someone goes down at speed, not just gets inconvenienced. That first season paid nothing in money. It paid everything else.
27. People started driving 3 hours to find you. Not because you were the only option, because you were the one most likely to actually solve it. That difference is everything. Word moved the way it always does in this world. One rider to another, through a chain neither end could ever trace back to. You became known for vintage Japanese machines, the ones the industry had mostly walked away from. You'd started on an XT250 in a driveway, and you'd spent years quietly stacking up the rest of the knowledge nobody bothered teaching anymore. You began turning work away, not from being busy, from standards. Every bike you touched carried your name, and not every job deserved it. You also took on the neglected classics, machines that ran 2 decades ago, sat untouched in a dry garage since, and whose owners wanted them back exactly as they were before life got in the way. That kind of patience demands a different patience. You have to understand what a bike used to be before you can bring it back to that. You learned the correct thread pitch on obscure crankcase boats, the exact year a certain ignition system changed. That level of detail is simply what the work asks for. 31. Your own workshop now, 4 bays, your own lift, 2 mechanics working under you, chosen the way Marco chose you. Not the sharpest resume, the one who couldn't stop paying attention. You can spot that in 10 minutes of conversation if you know what to listen for. Nobody warns you about the business side, parts, warranties, unhappy customers who don't just leave quietly, they talk. In a world this small, 1 bad experience travels faster than 10 good ones ever will. You started training apprentices formally. The real resource never changed, someone experienced enough to show you something once and expect you to actually watch. 36. Your hands had been on more engines than most factories build in years. You could hold a part and know, from its weight alone, whether it was within spec. Not magic, just 20 years of calibration. Manufacturers started inviting you to their training sessions, not as a student, but as a voice they wanted in the room. You told engineers things their data never showed them. They wrote it down. Your waiting list stretched past a month. You never advertised once. The work always was the advertisement. You still did the hardest jobs yourself, partly because that's the work you loved, partly because the moment you stop touching engines is the moment the calibration starts slipping away, and that's not something a desk job gives back. 42. Riders with decades of their own experience started showing up just to talk. A racer with 10 years on the circuit once sat with you after closing, asking what a worn chain actually reveals about an entire drivetrain. You spent an hour walking through it, not for the money, because knowledge like that has to go somewhere. 2 mechanics you'd trained opened their own shops. You went to both openings and handed each of them a single tool, chosen for what they were best at. No speech needed. It said everything a speech couldn't. The old XT250 sits against a wall in your parts room now. Not running, not for show, just there.
Sometimes you look at it between jobs, not with nostalgia, with something closer to knowing exactly how far you've traveled and exactly what it cost to get there. Marco retired years ago. At his send-off, he didn't say much. He just looked at your hands, the calluses, the stains that never fully scrub out, and nodded once. Neither of you needed the words. 50 years old, 35 years of fixing things that were never meant to run again. Bikes still on the road because you refused to hand back anything less than your best. Someone's first motorcycle, now their only one, still running because of a standard you never let slip. That 15-year-old with the bicycle pump and the misfiled manual is still in every job you finish. Not a memory, a foundation. You visit a technical college twice a year now and tell the students what you'd tell yourself at 17. Pay attention every single time. Not most times. The one moment you look away is always the moment that mattered. You don't get that moment back. And somewhere out there tonight, some kid is staring at a bike that hasn't run in years, a printout falling out of order, a carburetor in more pieces than it should be. They have no idea what they're doing. That's exactly how it's supposed to start.